Greetings, people. Wait for some people to get in the room. Get myself situated here. Back, give me a sec. All right. Just gonna wait until we get some people up. Some people slowly starting to come in, and we're gonna get started. Do got a time limit today. I got about an hour and a half. So I'm gonna try to get through as much of this information, as we can. Good reason why I chose this topic. I'll get into that shortly. An important topic to understand some of the foundation of the quote unquote occult and the mystical orders that center around the occult on a varying level of different degrees. Because obviously today here in the West, you have so many esoterical occult orders that have been influenced by some of these ancient teachings that go back to ancient Egypt, etc., which we're going to elaborate on in a little bit. So it's going to wait for some more people to come in. Peace, Sister Mandy, Brother K. Edwards. While we're waiting for a few more people to come in, I try to wait till at least get about 10 to 15 people, so I don't have to repeat myself. Just a couple quick announcements, because obviously I could, when the video plays back for people that aren't in live, they can access it. Just for those that may or may not be in here now, I did receive, I sent people receipts of their payment for the classes starting in July. So I did contact and reach out to some of you right before I got on this live stream. I did send out the list of books that you will need for the classes. I sent that email out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. If you have signed up for the classes and you did not receive the book list, I believe I got everybody. But as I've said before, sometimes you can make a mistake and miss people. If you did not get the list of books that you will need for the classes beginning next month, hit me up if I missed you on that email list. And the list is now available. This way, it gives you a few weeks to gather the materials. And most of the books on the list, you can get them used on Amazon. It's not going to cost you anything. There's about 7 or 8 books you're going to need that are the core foundation from some of the work we'll be doing in those classes. And it's looking like for the fall event, we're looking to do it in October. I should have that 2-day workshop seminar we're going to do in October. I'll have the dates. That'll be the next thing. I should have that within a week or two. I did look at the spot. Spot is fine. I'm just planning it and coordinating when it's going to fit in schedule-wise. But it's looking like early October-ish, late September. But we'll get that finalized. And just want to make sure everybody that did pay did get receipts for the classes. So I did email, make sure everybody got a receipt. Some of you just have paid in full. Some of you just made your first and second payments. But anyway, hit me up if I missed you with the book list. All right. And you'll see in the information box, you'll see the email in reference to if you need that email, it's khnum19@gmail.com. And anybody that's interested in spiritual consultations, I had a brother contact me from Africa today, believe it or not. And I responded back to the brother. He set up a consultation, which is good to see. Channel is kind of reaching people in that area. 2 others I also emailed for set up a consultation with before I got on. And again, as long as you give me a 48-hour notice, very important, so I could schedule everybody accordingly. How the consultations work, they last up to an hour. If you can't get to me physically, we do it on Google Hangouts or Skype. I prefer Google Hangouts. It can be paid for via PayPal, or you could pay prior to we start over the phone. And I charge $52 to do that. Again, you have to specify if you want a reading or a consultation. They're 2 different things. It's not the same thing. A reading, I'll either use the scarab runes, divination, cards. It just depends on what the spirit is saying, and whatever comes through, we just work with that. So That's something that's a little bit out of your control, whereas a consultation, you can kind of dictate the subject matter, and we build from there, and we kind of go from there. So just want to be clear, when you do send me an email, specify what you are looking for. Very important. I do have a time frame today. I'm going to try to get this in about an hour, hour and a half. Actually, tomorrow is my birthday. My sister's birthday is today. And we're getting ready to have a little celebration / get together in a couple hours. So I'm going to kind of be limited on my time. So we could go ahead and do this birthday thing in a couple hours. Got to get ready for that. So looking forward to kind of kicking back this weekend, relaxing out, and go back pretty much free, and took a few days till Monday. But anyway, so that's kind of gets everybody up to speed. So let me get this in so we can do the birthday thing in a little bit. Chose this topic because I get a lot of emails on this. It's an important topic. Emperor, greetings to Emperor Firon, Ishmael El Bey, if I missed you, Prince Yababa. Emperor, is it Firon or Firon, if I'm pronouncing it wrong? You can email me about that, and we can dialogue about that in private. It just depends on what you're looking to do and if it fits within time. But anyway, we could talk about that and or communicate that via email in private. So just shoot me an email. All right, so what I'm going to do is go over the material. Again, I'm trying to stay on a strict schedule for this particular feed because of, like I say, my sister's birthday is today and mine is tomorrow, and we're getting ready to do this celebration. I'm going to go through some material, then I'll go back into the chat, and I'll take some questions, some comments, and we'll go from there. The reason why I chose this topic, I get a lot of emails on this, trying to dispel a lot of the myths on the Templars, the Assassins. I'm also going to try to connect it so you can see. Well, not try, because it is connected to what we call OTO, the Order Templi Orientis, the Lima, and where Crowley received, Aleister Crowley received a large influence, or was heavily influenced by the doctrine of the Templars and the Assassins. And I'm also making this clear, I'm speaking this from experience. I am a initiated member of the Order Templi Orientis. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you this, not because I want a fucking pat on the back. I'm telling you this from experience. I am a Master Mason, a 32nd degree Scottish Rite, went through the shrine, have been initiated in 10th degree Rosicrucian. And I'll tell you again why I'm telling you all these things. We need to start questioning people's credentials. The reason why I said that, not because I want a pat on the back or it makes me better than anybody. That's not why I said that. For years, and especially now, as I've said before, with the social media technological age and YouTube and Facebook and all these platforms, which are great because it's good for forums like this where you can reach multiple people simultaneously. That's a beautiful thing. And that's the power of social media. That's the great benefit of using this in a a good way. The bad thing is we have a lot of YouTube scholars. You understand? A lot of people that not everything you get on YouTube and social media is right and exact. We have a lot of people that are into conspiracy theories, a bunch of sensationalized bullshit information. And it's not backed up or supported by any concrete facts or evidence. All right. So the reason why I wanted to touch on this, we got to start asking motherfuckers for their credentials when they start teaching on shit like this. Okay. Because most of the shit, and I'm going to say about 70% or more of the stuff you find on the internet about the Templars and the Assassins and the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians and all these esoterical mystical orders, nobody has any credentials in any of them. Nobody's been initiated in any of them. Nobody has gone through any of these lodges, but yet they speak on these things as if they're experts. So the question is, other than hearsay, other than other people's information that you either heard or read, what evidence do you have based on experience to support your opinions or philosophies or interpretations on what these orders were really about? Because you can't if you have no experience or been initiated in. All right. Now, I'm also saying this to say that bottom line, number one, I'm not saying it's mandatory for anybody to join or become a part of any of these organizations unless, or groups or esoterical societies, unless it is something you desire to seek out to gain the experience and the wisdom and the knowledge. But I always have suggested, and those that know me since day one, if you want to teach on these things or reform and correct some of the misinformation of these things, it is prudent that you become a member, become initiated. That's the point that's presented. And that's why when people always ask, is it necessary to be initiated in these things? And that's why I say the answer is yes and no. And that's not taking a double standard on it. It's yes and no based on what is your approach to it. It's no if you just want to basically get a general understanding of what they're about, but you're not going to make no claims and opinions as if you know 100% what it's about and you're just an interested seeker, then no, it's not necessary to be initiated. But if you're going to talk about the stuff and teach and educate on it, yes, it is. You need to be initiated because you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And this is why we got to start checking motherfuckers that claim, and when they start teaching on these things, ask them to show you their credentials. It's very simple. If you're a Rosicrucian, ask to see the initiation certificate and the level they're on. If you're a Mason, ask to see their card, their current card and what degree they're on. If they say they're O2, whatever it is, I don't give a fuck what it is. Same thing with the Ifa traditions. If they say they're initiated in something, have them back it up with something. Because what you're going to find out is we have a lot of scholars out here that just study shit on Google. See, if you ask me about Palo and Ifa, I can trace my family lineage. I can give you my godparents. I can take you back to their Nagapot. I can tell you the essence and origin of where it comes from. All right, you can trace your family lineage tree. Even back in the day when I was active, and I still stay in contact with a lot of brothers of the 5% Nation, I can trace my family lineage tree. Ask motherfuckers for credentials on shit, because this is how we can put a stop to the nonsense and the madness. Because I see a lot of these debates that go on the internet, and I don't ever ask anybody, I don't see anybody ever checking anybody's credentials. You got motherfuckers on YouTube and the internet claiming to be, tatas and Palo high priests, and you see them on the fraud alert and fraud scam. I ain't gonna say no fucking names, but I'm sure you'll probably know. And this is why, because nobody checks the credentials. And one brother I reached out to, and I saw he didn't have no scratch marks from Palo getting scratched. And he told me that the Palo he went through, that wasn't necessary for him to be scratched. And that's a bunch of bullshit. Anybody that's gone through a Palo initiation knows that that's bullshit. So you got a lot of YouTube tatas out there, a lot of YouTube high priests and priestess on whatever shit they claiming to belong to, but nobody's asking to check to see the credentials. Okay. All right. Now the next question comes in. Then you got the other people, and I want to talk about that. You got other people who teach and say, "Oh, you don't need any of that shit. It's not necessary. I'm naturally in tune with the spirits and this and that." All right. I get that to an extent, but how can you reform something you're claiming is wrong when you don't even know it's wrong because you ain't got no experience in it? That's my whole point. Okay. So nobody talks about that. And a lot of people that say it's not necessary, this and that, those are people that got an agenda and some bullshit they trying to hide. Trust me when I tell you, you just got to find the angle of where they're coming at. That's all. So there's a twofold outlook on that. Is it necessary or is it not? That just all depends on your approach, because there's going to be some people that say, "Oh, I can work with the Palo spirits. I don't need to be initiated in Palo." Yeah, you can work with the Palo spirits without being initiated to a certain degree. Bottom line, and I can back that up and prove it. So you can sit here and say what you want and blow up, "Oh, fuck that. I don't need to be that. I'm in tune with." Trust me when I tell you, there's a twofold definition and explanation of that. That's not entirely the case. Most people that are saying that have an agenda. There's something to hide. We got to start checking motherfuckers' credentials. We got to start checking motherfuckers, these people that are claiming to do this spiritual work, and what results do you get? You understand? They're taking people's money and ain't getting no results because they're presenting it as something it's not. See, what the real path of this is about, this is not about you going to somebody and paying them and them doing the work for you. That's not how the shit works. And this is where people get confused when they get involved in a consultation, because anybody that goes to you and says, "Pay me X amount of money and I'm gonna fix that problem for you in detail," it don't work like that. You have to be able to be the individual that is the vessel to facilitate that energy, which gets into a whole nother story, which I deal with in private with people that do consultations. And if you follow the instruction and carry it out yourself, you will get the results. So like I said, long story short, not to get into a whole tirade about that, we got to start checking motherfuckers' credentials. If they're teaching on masonry, ask them, are you a Mason? Have you ever gone through a Masonic lodge? Those that know me for 20 plus years, I can give you my lodge 236 in Boynton Beach. My brother-in-law he's the Grand Master of the lodge right now as I sit here and speak to you. So I can back that up. I have a certificate to prove it. Okay. Same thing. If you ask me Rosicrucian, and I did a video, if you go a while back, a couple months ago, I did a video to kind of, and that, again, that was to show anybody that's watching the videos that I'm not making false claims that I'm something that I'm not. I put those certificates and flashed them in the video to let you know I've been through those things. Okay. And when I'm speaking on them, I'm talking from experience, not out of my ass, not because I saw a few videos on YouTube or I read a few books. I've been initiated in those lodges pretty much to the highest degrees you can go. And there's really no further I can go in any of them. So I've gained that knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and I apply it and utilize that to try to teach people so they can get a better outlook and picture on it. I can show those credentials. We got to start checking motherfuckers' credentials. If they say they have Tata, ask them, where's your scratch marks? Show me where you were marked physically on your body. If they can't do it, tell them to shut the fuck up and stop teaching about power because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's that simple. If they can't trace their lineage from their whoever gave them their Naga pot on back to their parents, on back to their parents of that pot, tell them to shut the fuck up. They don't know what they're talking about. And if they tell you that it's not necessary, they don't need it, tell them to shut the fuck up again because you're running a hustle and a scam. I'm gonna keep it 100% with you. Stop going to these con artists, these people that claiming because you found an angle where they can take advantage of people and use them. I'm telling you this, and I don't say this out of arrogance. Motherfuckers run from me because once I sit there and start asking these questions, they ain't got no answers. Okay, so we got to be able to back things up factually and not just take shit for face value. And the reason why most people fall for that because the problem is with most people, they're looking for a savior figure. Stop looking for somebody to do the shit for you. Do it for yourself. You can get guidance from somebody. You can get information from elders, and that's great. But you've got to take the initiative to carry out the work yourself. All right, anyway, haven't gotten to that. I want to stay on time here. So the Templars and the Assassins, all right, I'm going to come from two books today. I've mentioned this book, I believe, once or twice in the past. And actually, the gentleman that wrote this book, James Wasserman, he's actually the Grand Master over my OTO Lodge here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's the book he put out. I'm going to take some information out of here. The Templars and the Assassins, The Militia of Heaven by James Wasserman. I would definitely check out his works. You also see he's also done some specials on the occult on the A&E network. You got vast in the occult knowledge. I'm also using another book by Charles Kipp, Astrology, Alistair, and the Eon. This deals with some of the mystical teachings of OTO and Alistair Crowley. This is another good book you need to get if you don't have it. Who and what are the Assassins? Okay. And what's their connection to a lot of these mystical orders? Okay. The Assassins, you can trace a lot of their, go into the quote unquote, during what we call the Middle Ages, during the times of the Crusades it actually goes back prior to that. But where they really surfaced, or a lot of the information we get here in the West, you'll see during the Crusades, the importance of the role that they played, aka the Assassins, and the character Saladin, who we're going to talk about, and that really connects to the Order Templi Orientis because they base a lot of their mystical teachings and rituals around the Templars and the Assassins. All right. So let's get a little history briefly, and then we'll get into this a little bit more. And then it connects, as we say, onto the Freemasonry, on up into the Shriners, etc. All right. Let's first talk about the myth. I'm gonna skip one section here. If you do have the book, I've definitely had on page 15. What were some of the doctrines? I'm going to start with these secret societies. Why were they secret? Why did they keep things on the low? And how did Masonry the Shriners and some of these other mystical orders that came afterwards adopt some of those same methodologies, because most of these were an initiatory system. You had to be initiated in the lodge, and the secrets had to be passed from you from mouth to ear, right? So these are the key elements. An inner doctrine that is at the heart of this society. All the group's teachings point to the inner doctrine, which is progressively revealed through initiatory degrees of the society. And that's why I said you can't really understand it fully if you haven't gone through the initiatory degrees of the inner doctrine of that particular secret society. So how are motherfuckers teaching on this shit other than books that they read and never were initiated, never went through the degree? So how can they correct something or see the contradiction in something or correct something if they never were initiated, okay? 2, a hierarchical structure presides over the incremental unveiling of the inner doctrine. As one progresses towards the top of the hierarchy, one presumably knows more than those below. Also, it is assumed of those further up in the hierarchy that loyalty to the society and commitment to its principles have been tested through years of membership. Anybody that's, and I'll use Masonry for an example, anybody that's been initiated or belonged to a Masonic lodge for many years and has moved up what we call the chairs, the officer positions of the chairs. As you get higher up in the hierarchy, more information is revealed to you. You have a different standard within the organization because you have earned it, okay? For the most part, you have earned it. You do have cliques in some lodges where kind of people get favored than others. That's a reality. You understand what I'm saying? But for the most part, you've obtained a certain level of knowledge and you've earned that position, that title, that seat, or that office position, or that officer position, as we call it. So you hold a different standard. And again, you only know that if you've been a full-fledged member. Not because you saw somebody do a lecture on Masonry and you got all these spooky ass people out here doing videos on this and the New World Order and the Illuminati, which fucking makes me laugh, cracks me up, because all of it is fucking conspiracy theory. Trust me when I tell you. All right. So let's go on. Number 3, a set of moral values particularly stresses loyalty to the membership, service to the society, respect of the hierarchy, and aspiration towards the inner doctrine. The patience required for the gradual illumination peculiar to the secret society itself is considered part of its moral teaching. Number 4, the development of a stable foundation which the candidate may continue to build is encouraged by the society's methods of progressively revealing secrets, that is, gradually unfolding the inner doctrine over time and through the degrees of advancement within the hierarchy. The practical value of this style of teaching to the society is that it separates the committed from the merely curious. Another reason why it's important to go through if you really want to know. Because a lot of people, it's that old saying, we got a lot of curious Georges out here. Curiosity kills the cat. A lot of motherfuckers just want to sniff. You know how a dog gets nosy, it starts sniffing shit? Well, sometimes you might sniff your own shit and find out that you're full of shit. You understand? Because I can smell a bullshitter a mile away. I can smell him before he or she is coming. Just by the way you talk, just by the things you say, I can tell that you've never set foot in a lodge. And sometimes the best way to reveal a fool or ignorant person is let them just keep talking. And you'll see the bullshit will emerge. It's that simple. Just sit back, watch, listen. So another important reason why, if you really want to have a full understanding, because the candidate goes to a set of initiatory degrees. If you've never been initiated in a Rosicrucian lodge, or Order Templi Orientis lodge, a Masonic lodge, a Shriner lodge, then point blank, you don't know. I don't give a fuck what you read, what lecture you heard, who said what. You just don't know. You're speculating. And this is why we have in the lodge called operative and speculative Masons. We also have operative and speculative people. So you are a speculative Mason when you've never gone through the lodge and you're trying to drop information on Masonry and you ain't got no credentials. You are a speculative Mason. You speculate because you don't know shit. You saw some video on YouTube and read 1 or 2 books, and now you think you know everything about Masonry. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we got to start checking motherfuckers on their credentials. If they talking about this shit, ask them what gives them the right. I mean, shit, anybody can talk about anything they want. I'm not talking about that. But when you're talking about these things, if you're not initiated or never a member, you should state that to people before you talk about them. So now people have a clearer understanding. Okay, you're coming from a perspective on research you did personal, and that's fine. But don't present it as if when people say shit like, yeah, Masons do this in the lodge, or Masons are part of the Illuminati. What are you basing that shit on? And what is the Illuminati? And if you're not a member of the Illuminati, how the fuck do you know? That's my whole point. Now you hear crickets, shit gets quiet. See, I don't have a problem if you're teaching on these things, but you're letting the public know you're teaching from your own personal research. That makes a difference. Whereas when I'm talking about Masonry, OTO, the Rosicrucians, etc., I'm speaking from being a full-fledged initiated member. There's a difference, okay? Because I can smell the bullshit from a mile away. And again, I'm not mentioning this over and over because I want a pat on the back or it makes me better than anybody. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it to get in people's heads to start checking motherfuckers' credentials. And if they can't show you the proof, then tell them they're full of shit. Because if somebody's talking about OTO or something and says, I'm an OTO, well, where's your initiatory certificate? Show it. Masonry, whatever the fuck it is, have them show you. This will eliminate the bullshit we got going on out here. You understand? All right. Let me get through this. 5, oaths are required for receiving of these secrets. This is standard. Historians of the occult and some occultists themselves have scoffed at the majestic and terrible oaths, which the most commonplace knowledge was revealed to initiates. The technique serves to weed out the unfit. However, and to develop the virtue of science within the fit. During the historical periods discussed in this book, secrecy meant the difference between life and death. In Masonry, every oath, tells you take this oath and your tongue can be yanked out of your mouth, pulled through your, like a Colombian necktie and scattered over the waters of the ocean. Does this mean literal? No, it means if you give up the sea. Literally, is somebody going to come to your house and yank you? If you start believing in that, say it's just a reminder to show you the importance of the initiation that you just undertook, right? I've heard of all this bullshit. Masons, there's homosexual shit that goes on. I don't know what lodge motherfuckers belong to that's saying that, because none of that shit goes on. And that might go on in the old man white Masonic lodges. Maybe it goes on there. I've been in Masonry for over 20 years, 15 to 20 years now, and I've never seen any of that stuff go on. And I've been to lodges in the country and out of the country. I've never seen any of it. Have no fucking clue when people bring these ridiculous accusations up, where they're getting it from. Okay. All right. 6, a curriculum provides the intellectual and psychospiritual methods by which the candidate is better prepared to understand the inner doctrine. These will include the study of recommended literature and the practice of meditation and ritual. Of course, you have to have a curriculum, some type of criteria to keep some level of discipline and order. But within that criteria and discipline, the candidate has flexibility. They have different methods which he or she can go to get to the level that they're trying to get. So again, another important reason to be in is to understand the structure and the methodology, right? All right, the next section I want to get into real quick. And again, I'm going to go back to the chat and get to your questions. I just want to get through this. Let's go real quick into the assassin myth and the character that they call, I'm going to get a little bit into Saladin. I ain't going to get too much into that. The assassin myth. Who are the assassins? Where did the story of the assassins originate? There's many theories on this, because really from the assassin brotherhood, you get a lot of the mystical orders that we see today, and its connection, especially later on down the road, to Islamic mysticism. All right. And we're going to talk about Hassan, who's very important, the character Hassan. All right. Like sparks igniting, a pile of kindling words have power to conjure up images. The name Hassan in Saba immediately evokes the idea of the ultimate secret society. The assassins, or the Hashishim, whose influence extended over a significant portion of Persia and Palestine 1,000 years ago. Hassan's legend has endured in the West through modern times. He has been embraced by hip culture, a common reference in the writings of William S. Burroughs. He made an appearance in the movie performance where the character played by Mick Jagger offers a tantalizing look at the old man of the mountain, right? The popularization of the assassin myth throughout the European world was a result of contact with Islamic culture, okay? during the Crusades. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of the video, this is where the Brotherhood even goes back prior to that. But where it became very popular and synonymous in the West was during the times of the Crusades in the middle centuries, in the 1100s, right? One of the earliest elements in European law was contributed in 1175 by Burchard of Strasbourg, the envoy to Egypt and Syria of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa. He described the dwellers of the Syrian mountain region as Hesassini, men who lived without law, ate pig's flesh, shared their women, and practiced incest with their mothers and sisters. He described the feared master of the sect ruling his network of young killers as the scourge of both Muslim and Christian leaders. The master was said to have possessed beautiful and inaccessible mountain palaces, which the young men were raised from the earliest childhood and schooled in all languages of the customs of the time. They were taught absolute obedience and loyalty to the master and told that the reward of their service would be the joys of paradise, which he had the power to offer them. At his command, they gladly accepted the golden dagger personally handed them to slay the master's designated enemy. In 1192, the Syrian assassins claimed their most important Christian victim, Conrad of Montferrat, the Latin king of Jerusalem. His successor, Count Henry of Champagne, or Champagne, some pronounce, the nephew of King Richard, the Lion-Hearted, was approached by the assassins to negotiate an accord. Henry described this visit around 1194 to the headquarters of the Syrian assassin chief known as the Old Man of the Mountain, at his castle in the Nosari Mountains. Henry and the master were strolling through the grounds of the fortress when the old man said that he did not believe the Christians were as loyal to their leaders as his disciples were to him. To illustrate this point, he signaled to two youths high above on one of the towers. Both immediately leapt to their deaths on the rocks as 1,000 feet below. In the beginning of the 14th century, Marco Polo fueled the European fascination with the assassins when he compiled the ultimate resume of the scattered assassins' legends to date, embellished with his own contributions. The Venetian traveler had spent 25 years in the East, visiting the royal court of China for some 17 years, as well as spending time in Persia. In the classic account of his travels, Pole described legends of the magnificent enclosed garden hidden at Alamut, in which all details corresponded to Muhammad's descriptions of paradise, which confirms that it was a man that put the descriptions of what they call Jannah or paradise in the Quran, because everything in the Quran that's described about paradise, anything that you see in that Quran can be obtained here in heaven, and this is where it was gotten from. When it talks about rivers of milk and honey and silk and diamonds and gold, there's nothing heavenly or out of the ordinary of what the Quran describes as paradise that you can't get here on earth. So what was it really talking about? Which that's a whole nother story. We're going to get into that another time. All right. And it again, as it says here, it talks about fruit, gilded pavilions, exquisite paintings, silk tapestries, wine, milk, honey, and water freely flowing throughout, beautiful women, skilled in music, singing, dancing, and the arts of love, attended to the every wish of those who were chosen to enter its garden's walls, for the garden was impregnable. So nothing you can't get here on earth. Polo wrote that the young disciples carefully chosen by the old man for their marital prowess and personal loyalty to him were the only people allowed to enter the garden. Okay. He would then first give them a drugged portion of that would cause them to enter a deep sleep. We're talking now of intoxicants. They would awaken to find themselves within the magic garden. These simple youths would spend a period of time in a blissful sensuality until the portion was again administered, and they would awaken at the castle. Once conducted to the old man's presence, they would discuss the experience with the master. He would then assign one of them a target for assassination. The chosen youth would be promised that upon his return and successful completion of the task, he would be readmitted to the garden, or should he die during the mission, the old man would send his angels to bear the young man's soul to paradise. The word assassin entered nearly all medieval European language to describe a hired or political killer. Hence, because of this action, that's why they were referred to the assassins. They had to do something to show and prove their worth, right? Which, again, why I'm bringing this topic up today. We have a lot of motherfuckers that talk shit and haven't done anything and proven anything to show their worth. So we look at this on a metaphorical sense. If you are an assassin, right? A spiritual assassin, you are cutting down all the lies and the bullshit that people fucking teach. And this is why I say you got to check motherfuckers' credentials. What have they done to bear fruit and back up the shit that they're talking? That's it. It's that simple, right? All right. At the first, European popular culture embraced the quality of the disciples, loyal to the old man of the mountain. Medieval troubadours promised their loved ones the same devotion to the assassin held toward his mysterious master. Gradually, fear of assassin skill and cunning spread within the royal courts of European monarchs. Kings began to suspect that their enemies entered into murderous alliances with the old man who had been persuaded to send his dark minions against them. To explore this archetype secret society, we must first focus on the tortuous development of Islam in the 4th centuries prior to Hassan's birth. For in the boiling cauldron of the numerous factions and schisms that developed since the death of the Prophet Muhammad is to be found the roots of extraordinary power held by Hassan in Saba, and that means Saba, the companions, right? And his successors. The simple faith of the fierce desert warriors to whom Muhammad preached his message had evolved into a series of complex, sophisticated, and nearly unrecognizable doctrines. By the time Hassan in Saba added his own contribution to the mix, right? The next section, which I'm not going to really get into, it talks about now the rise of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, Muslim culture. This is now during the period where the assassin order now gets tied into the Abyssinians. It gets tied into a lot of different spiritual sects of Islam. It starts to bear roots secretly to very modern day Sunni and Shiite groups. And it kind of gets into Omar too, who was an important character in the Crusades. It kind of now works its way up where you're going to find during this time period, it was very secretive. It's still shunned to this day. A lot of people that were members of these assassin orders, these Sufi mystical orders, you had to keep it secret because a lot of these strict Orthodox sects of Islam didn't consider them to be righteous Muslims. Because anybody that has studied the doctrine of these orders, it deals with, like the Sufism or the assassin order deals with the divine, or that resides within you. The creator solely resides in you. They don't really solely reside on the spook force that there's this God called Allah, that resides in the sky, and it's no different from the Christian or the Jewish God or the Hebrew God. The assassin or the mystic took the initiative because they knew there was more to the levels of and the answers to spirituality other than what they were being taught on the surface. So a lot of it was kept secret. Now, another thing it mentioned in there, a lot of during these monarchy rules in Europe, yes, a lot of these assassins that were part of the king's court were secretly members of the assassin orders. Obviously, the movie The Assassins that came out not too long ago kind of showed you that, the connection with the Templars, the assassins, and how it tied into some of the monarchies that existed during that time. This is how a lot of them were able to be overthrown. Because remember, if you said you were an assassin, you had to literally sometimes prove your worth, right? So there's a rich history here. It ties into what we do and the work that we do as Black adepts on this path. There's a lot of work that's connected to the assassin order. What I want to do now real quick is go into Charles Kipp's book real quick. And how does this tie into, let's per se, modern day OTO, Order Templi, Orientis, Thelema, and the teachings of Aleister Crowley, right? So where does the Order Templi Orientis come from, right? The Great Seal of the OTO, right? And I'm going to show it to you if you haven't seen it, some have, right? That's the seal. Take a look at it real quick because we're going to go over that. Anybody that's been in the lodge, that's the seal in the lodge. That's the seal on your documents. That's the seal you get on your degrees. And I'm telling you this because, again, I'm initiated in OTO. I have the degrees. And you will see this seal just about on everything you receive, right? Because in the image of that seal, it says a lot of different things. How would you know that? Again, you would have to be in. But we're going to go over some of the basics. According to one interpretation, the eye in the triangle represents God the Father. The dove represents the Holy Spirit descending, and the chalice represents the Holy Grail, or earth transfigured by the Spirit. The first degree, right? The Minerval degree, and then you have the Man of Earth degree, right? As you go further through, there's a reason for that, right? Ultimately, the eye represents the eye of the penis. The dove represents the ejaculation of sperm, and the chalice represents the womb, the miracle of creation on another level. And this is why I say a lot of these esoterical symbols change as you advance in degrees. So when you ask somebody, what does the Ankh mean? I love when people ask me this. What does a six-pointed star mean? That all depends on what level of questioning you're asking that at. Are you asking that from somebody that doesn't know? Are you asking that question from a religious context? Are you asking that question as a Mason, as an adept of the black arts? Are you initiated in some type of esoterical system? Because the meanings change. That's done intentional, because as you get more deeper in your initiatory degrees, the inner meanings of these things change. You only know that if you are in these lodges. That's the difference. So I love when people ask me the question, what does the Eye of Horus mean in ancient Egypt? That all depends on who and what I'm talking to. Because if you are not a Mason, if you are not in any of these groups, then I got to give you the regular standard definition of what it means on the surface to somebody that maybe studies Kemetic information. But if you ask me what the Eye of Heru or the Eye of Ra means, it means a whole bunch of different things to me based on the different level of degrees and things that I've gone through. That's common sense. Again, further proof when somebody's teaching on these things and they can't break this stuff down, then tell them to stop teaching about it, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And this is what causes confusion. When people make these ridiculous claims and statements and don't have anything to back it up. All right. We'll finish this section, then we'll go through some of your questions. Just trying to give you the gist and the basic information on this. There's so much more. I recommend you get the books and study a lot of these orders. We've talked about this in the past. The Assassins, the Templars, the Rosicrucians, the Order Templi Orientis. How does this connect to black magic and adepts of the black arts? There's a strong connection because of the practices and the things that they did. They were all had one thing in common. They were all trying to obtain a level of immortality and tap into the God or the master within. There's very similarities, and you can see this in some of the brotherhoods of ancient Egypt and the sisterhoods of Egypt. You could see it. Even we connected it many times in the past to the Sith order. There's many similarities to the codes and the principles and what these orders are about. All right. Let me just finish this last section. A third interpretation on this same OTO symbol combines both in a sense. The eye represents the ego of the magician. The dove represents both sperm and soul ejaculating or exploding in orgasm, and the chalice represents the body of Nuit, or the universe into which the soul disappears at the height of tantric sex magic. The Order Templi Orientis is a Freemasonic style ritualistic occult order which traces itself back to the Knights Templar. Although several groups have claimed to be the real OTO, and there were 1,005 competing outer heads at one time, the U.S. federal courts have ruled that the order represented the worldwide web on the order represented on the World Wide Web. There's the website is the true OTO, and have granted it tax-exempt status, and that's www.crl.com/Thelemer/OTO-HTM, and that's the Grand Lodge that I belong to, and they're the only ones that can claim. There are many splinter groups that claim, but that is the Grand Lodge that I was initiated in. The OTO has 11 degrees, the first 9 and the 11th involving Freemasonic style initiations in which the candidate is tested and hopefully illuminated by deeper insight into the world of his or herself. The 10th degree represents the outer head of the order, a post currently held by one Hymenaeus Beta, and that's to this day, he still holds that post, which I can confirm. As we mentioned, Aleister Crowley became an initiate of the OTO in 1912. This happened because he had published a mystic treatise or the book of dirty jokes titled The Book of Lies. The outer head at the time, Theodore Roos, mentioned above for his alleged link to the Illuminati, came to Crowley and said that since he knew the secret of the 9th degree, he had to accept that rank in the OTO and its attendant obligations. Crowley protested that he knew no such secret, but Roos showed him a copy of the Book of Lies and pointed to a chapter which revealed the secret clearly. Crowley looked at his own words, and it instantly flashed upon him. The entire symbolism, not only of Freemasonry, but of many other traditions, blazed upon my spiritual vision. And I understood that I held in my hands the key to the future progress of humanity. Crowley, of course, does not tell us what chapter contains the secret. You can spend many happy hours and days, maybe months or years, poring over that cryptic volume, seeking the right chapter in the final secret, and I'll leave that to you if you choose to do that. Crowley succeeded Roos as an outer head and was succeeded by one called Germer, who died without appointing a successor, leading to the long struggle among various fractions. Charlie Manson once belonged to the alleged OTO, but not to the one currently recognized by U.S. courts as a legitimate charitable and religious organization. That's the fake-ass OTO. We should remember at this point that Aleister Crowley also received training, sometimes briefly, and sometimes lasting in such traditions as Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Sufism. And we should recall his training as an organic recall his training in organic chemistry. He never abandoned his commitment to the method of science, the aim, or religion. Then it gets into, which I'm not going to get into, the widow's son, which is prominent also in Masonry, called Hiram Abiff, etc. What I will leave you with this before I take some of these questions. Again, I do have a time frame. As I said in the beginning, if you weren't on, today is my sister's birthday. Tomorrow is my birthday, and we're getting ready to have a little party get together in a couple hours. So I got to get ready for that. And I know it's going to be a busy weekend tomorrow. But anyway, for those that have been initiated in OTO or have studied to some degree and are familiar with it on some level, the degrees and the rituals are centered on Eastern mysticism, if you've ever been initiated in the lodge. The central character, and I'm only going to go into what I can openly, who they call Saladin, plays a central role. A lot of these assassin orders and the characters and some of the rituals and the descriptions of these orders, OTO uses that kind of as a template for their quote-unquote order. And the initiations are very interesting. The best I can tell you, they do make you tap into your inner power. They do put you through trials, tribulations, and tests, and see how well you can overcome adversity. Same thing that Masonry does. The widow's son, who most know in Masonry as Hiram Abiff, not Hiram, king of Tyre, that you see mentioned in the Bible. They're two different individuals. The widow's son is mentioned in the Bible, but very mysterious. These characters these rituals predate the Bible. They predate the construction of Solomon's temple. They predate the Crusades. They became popular during those times. You understand? All of them, just like a lot of the other spiritual systems we talk about on the left-hand path, be it vampirism, Luciferian magic, they all have their roots and origins in what we call ancient Egypt. But you'll see, even when you go into Islamic times and trace the history, it's important to understand this, because to understand the history of what you're doing is going to help you to proceed forward in your work. To have the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom and understanding of it is going to make it easier for you to lay down your path to self-mastery. Because some people say, well, how do I do this? Well, step one, get the history of it. Don't ask how I do something when you haven't gathered enough of history and information about it. OTO, again, has taken a lot of these mystical spiritual systems, and Crowley, and he's been very open with it and didn't deny it, was highly influenced by Sufism and Eastern mystical orders, Masonry. Even the grips and the handshakes and the stances and some of the degrees, you will find very similar to the signs, grips, and passwords in Freemasonry. How would you know this? Again, if you haven't gone through any of these orders, please stop talking about them. Please stop passing false information. Please stop saying stupid shit that you really sound like a complete jackass and a moron because you watched some fucking idiot on YouTube do some video that catered to your emotions and your ego, and it hyped you up. And just because, we got a lot of these other conscious people out here that lecture and feed off of the black and white thing. Everything is, the white man stole this from us. The white man stole us this, that. White man this, white man that. But how can you pinpoint exactly what was stolen? First of all, it all comes from Egypt and Africa anyway, so they didn't steal anything. They used it and plagiarized it. You can't steal something from somebody that originated it. And what I mean by that in the sense is you can lay a claim that it's yours. That's not you're stealing it, but everybody in this day and time knows the truth and the reality. So therefore, it is no longer stolen. We know these things. You understand? I'm talking about the individual that just uses this fucking crutch on and don't support it. So again, before I get to these comments and questions, start checking motherfuckers for their credentials. All right. If they say they're scratched in power, have them verify that for you. If they say they're initiated in ether, have them present that for you. If they say that they're initiated in a Masonic lodge, have them give you their Masonic lodge, where they were initiated, and even produce their credentials. If they say they've gone through the Rosicrucian order, have them show you their initiate card. If they say they're a member of Order Templi Orientis, have them show you their degree card. It's that fucking simple, people. And then if they can't produce any of that, so then how the fuck are you talking about this stuff on Masonry and this stuff on OTO? Where are you getting it from? You're getting it from where everybody else is getting it from. YouTube, books. And anybody that's gone through these orders know the books ain't telling you the full story. Trust me when I tell you that. All right? All right. Real quick before I forget, and I'm gonna get to the questions in a minute before I wrap this up. The event on the 29th, sent that flyer out. If you're interested in attending that event, that is the invocation of Set Heru. I've sent that flyer out. 3 people from out of state have contacted me. I've spoke with you, giving you the information. I've spoke with a few people here locally. You must respond to the email, which is the same email here, request an invite, and then we will proceed forward from there. The information, what you will need for the ritual, how to prepare yourself, and the actual physical location. That information will not be given until you've 100% confirmed that you are attending the ritual. That'll be on Friday, June 29th, 8 o'clock. I put the email in the description box for the online classes and consultations. Same email, khnum19@gmail.com. I did receive some of those payments for classes before I came on, sent out your receipts. I did contact 3 of you for consultations before I came on. I try to stay up on top of all that first because I got to work with the people first, not just because they're paying money, because these are people that are taking a little more serious interest in their spirituality. They're looking to go to another level. Doesn't mean they're special in that, but I have to deal with it in accordance. This is why it's hard for me to address every email. I can't do it. I just don't have the time. Okay. Anyway, let's get to some of these comments and questions. I'm gonna stay on for about another 20, 25 minutes. Sister Mandy, not sure if you're still here. I did, you saw my email. I did email you your receipt. I just want to make sure you got it. Brother K. Edwards, peace. I think I greeted Emperor Firon. I think we greeted already. Ismail Bey, yeah, okay. Let me skip some of these. Yvette Galore says happy birthday. I appreciate that. Again, my birthday is tomorrow. My older sister's birthday is today. We're getting ready to have a little party up here in the crib. We got a nice Italian restaurant catering the party. Picked up a nice scrumptious cassata cake before I came in. So we're going to have some fun tonight, kick back and chill. We're getting ready to kick that off about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Brother Jack hit me up. So yeah, appreciate the happy birthday. El Sheba Sekhmet, greetings. I'm going to skip some of the personal conversation. Josh Morse, how are you today? I've been reading the PDF version of Sekima Pep. I think his spell checker went awry. Vampire Magic. Good. I know I suggested that's a good place for you to start. I'm going to keep reading down. You probably said something else in relation to that comment. I'm just going to go on, and when I get to it, I'll address it. Anarchy Zed, peace. What's going on, brother? I assume, brother. I feel like if I have obtained 100% spiritual enlightenment, I would not be here. You're making every point. I know virtually nothing of the Masons, to be honest. And that's okay. It doesn't mean because you don't know, don't make you any less or better. It doesn't make me any less or better. I'm just trying to prevent the ignorance. And not just with this, with any topic. People talk shit. Just identify what perspective you're coming from. And you have obviously did that. And I respect that. I've literally sat and I can't tell you, I probably can't even count on my hands how many ciphers I've sat in a Mason in a group of brothers building, and they're talking Mason. I stayed silent for an hour, maybe longer. And then when they were done, I've had to just chime in and correct all the bullshit that they were talking about. Now, mind you, they were doing this not knowing that I'm a 32nd degree Mason. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I said sometimes if you sit in silence and let a fool talk, and a fool who has diarrhea of the mouth will talk himself or herself into a corner. And I politely have to interject and say, well, let me correct a lot of the shit that you said that's incorrect. So it's not a matter of what you do and do not know. It's a matter of being real with yourself and truthful with people about where you stand. We got people that get on the internet, like we got people that claim to be Tatas and High Priest of Palo Mayembe, and they can't even trace their lineage back to their Nagapot, the origin of their Nagapot. And then when you question them, where's your scratch marks? I don't know if you can see it on the camera. That's probably kind of vague. But where are your marks? You understand what I'm saying? Show your marks where you got scratched in Palo. You understand what I'm saying? Trace your lineage back for us. Can you do that? If you can't, shut the fuck up. And be real with yourself and say, well, I only know what I've read and what I've researched. And then maybe you want to get with somebody that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. That's the difference. All right, Lady Williams. Peace, Lady Williams. I did get your payment too. Not sure if I sent you, or you sent it, I think, PayPal, but I did get your second one. I just want to let you know that. Prince Yababa, I want to join the Masons. Okay, if that's a desire and a quest of yours because you want to increase your knowledge and wisdom, I say 100%, go for it. What I would recommend you do is, and I get a lot of emails from brothers, what's the best way to go about joining a Masonic Lodge? Here's the best way. Search, and I would go to accredited. Go on to the free and accepted Masonic Grand Lodge in your state, right? This is the right way to do it. Trust me when I tell you. When you pull up the Grand Lodge of free and accepted Masonry in your state, search the lodges in your area. You can narrow down in the search engine by your city. You can put in the zip code. You will find that you're going to have several lodges around you. All of these lodges have, on the nights of their meetings, one of those, they usually meet twice a month in between to do ritualistic work. But one of those meetings that they have twice a month, they have open dinners for members that are interested in joining. Find out when they let interested new members come. And what the open dinners are, you come, you sit, you meet some of the brothers of the lodge, you talk with them, because you're going to need two people to sponsor you. You're going to need two master Masons to sponsor you. So if you don't know a Mason that can sponsor you, you need to go to one of those open meetings and meet a couple of brothers that would be interested in sponsoring you. The open dinners are just a social before the meetings where you can ask questions. They'll give you what they can, and it's like fellowship. It's good to get to do that, to know some of these people in the lodge so you can feel comfortable. I would suggest you visit 2 or 3 lodges so you got a choice. And whichever one you feel more comfortable with, then you would ask for the application. You'll fill out the application. The 2 sponsors will sign it for you. And then they're going to do a committee investigation. And let me say this. If you have a felon on your record, you're not going to be able to join. That automatically disqualifies you. They don't take any felons in the lodge. It's just the rules. I didn't make them. They will come out with a 3 or 14 member to your house and interview you. If you have a girlfriend or a wife, they will also interview your wife to make sure she's okay with you belonging to the lodge. They will also see how you live. They will ask your wife or your girlfriend about your character if you have one. They want to make sure you meet a certain standard individual. They don't just want any kind of person in the lodge. Then they will take that investigation back to the lodge, and in the next business meeting, the committee will present to the lodge what they investigated on you, and then they will take a vote if they want to agree to initiate you. All right? It's a private vote. It's done with a box with some black and white balls. You don't know who voted what. You also better make sure there's nobody in that lodge that knows some dirt on you, because then you won't get in the lodge. They'll automatically ain't going to vote you in. So these are things to consider. That's the process. You understand? I want you to be aware of that process. If you go, it's not just, I'm going to go down to a lodge, sign a piece of paper, pay my dues, and I'm going to get in. That's not how it works. All right. So I would suggest that's the way you go about it. Find a couple of lodges in your area where you can attend the social dinners and get to know some of the brothers in the lodge and feel them out, and whatever you feel comfortable with. then, say, look, I'm interested in filling out the application and going through the application process. All right. That's how it works. Just to give you a general idea. There's a little more to it, but I'm going to give you the quick. Josh Morris, because the Egyptian vampire magic is the path I'm on now. Okay. That was in reference to the book. Okay. Well, that's a good book to start. So keep going through that book. Kay was, I wanted to join the Masons too, but I thought it would be stupid hazing like college frats. No. Now, let me tell you, there is hazing in some lodges. Let me explain to you the difference. All right. I went through both. I don't suggest Prince Hall Masons, military lodges. There's a lot of hazing that goes on in there. If you are a weak bitch, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you. There is some type of level of hazing like you would in a college fraternity. It's to really test your strength and your willpower and your fortitude. I don't suggest you go through a Prince Hall Lodge or a military lodge if you're not cut out for that. I've literally went through it and I watched people quit in between degrees. They couldn't take it. Let me give you an example. What I can tell you, there was a brother in the Marines, Cock Diesel brother. I'll never forget this shit. Cock Diesel, motherfucker was swole. And, I said, look, I said, damn, he probably going to get through it. No problem, This motherfucker couldn't in between the first and second degree, he quit like a little bitch. He couldn't take it. There is hazing such as, somebody mentioned the paddle. I've gotten hit with phone books behind my legs. I've had to do push-ups till I couldn't do push-ups anymore. Jumping jacks, sit-ups, pull-ups. I've had to do shit where I was pressed up against the wall and had to bend and they push your hands down. You got to force your pit. This can go on for 20, 30 minutes. If you are a weak bitch, I don't suggest you go through any of that shit because you'll quit. I've watched several people when I went through in my class, when we went through, quit. They couldn't take the physical part of it. I also went and got initiated after that. Having that experience, I wanted to get the other experience, which I said, the free and accepted Masonic Grand Lodge. They don't do any hazing in those degrees, in those lodges. So I would suggest if you want to just experience the spiritual aspect of Masonry, go on to your website in your state. If you live in Michigan, go to the free and accepted Masonic Grand Lodge of Michigan. I promise you there's no hazing on any of those degrees at all. I went through from scratch. I went through all of their degrees the same way, not a once of hazing. Are you going to be blindfolded and go through some trials and tribulations mentally? Yes, you are. And if you don't like to be blindfolded and bound by what we call the cable tow around your neck and go through your degrees in pure darkness, then it's not for you. Okay. But in the free and accepted Masonic Grand Lodge, it's more mental than anything. It's spiritual. You will understand what it means to go into the darkness and do the work of the light. So I want for brothers that might be interested in joining a lodge, if it's going to be Prince Hall or international or a military lodge, you're going to get your ass beat. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you. It's not a secret. Anybody that knows. You're not going to know exactly what's going to happen to you because you can read all the books in Masonry, all the degrees. You can read the Duncan's Ritual. You can read whatever book you can get your hand on will never prepare you for what you're going to go through. Trust me when I tell you that. So that's why I'm telling you. So a motherfucker that reads a book on Masonry and then does a lecture on it. Yeah, see, the Masons are about this. Negro, you have no clue. Trust me when I tell you that. If the blindfold has never been on you, the cable tow around your neck, and you've never gone through the degree, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. And Duncan's doesn't give you the full breakdown on it. I don't care what you read. Trust me when I tell you. No book out there publicly on Masonry will ever prepare you for what you're going to go through. Trust me when I tell you. So if you're interested in going through a lodge, K. Edwards, and you don't want to go through the hazing, whatever state you live in, go through your free and accepted Masonry of that state, find your local lodge, and I promise you, there will not be any physical hazing, okay? And I'm telling you that from experience. Okay, Josh Morris watched good. Like I was saying, there's a lot of videos you'll find. Obviously, as you know, you watch my channel, I deal with a whole bunch of levels of left-hand path, but you'll find a varied stuff on vampirism. It's not just exclusively. It's one of the main paths that I do work with, but I don't just, as you see, and those that know me, I deal with a wide range of things. I don't want anybody to think it's exclusively vampirism, and I know you're not, but I'm just saying that. Yeah, Dan Doom, I know you belong. You belong to one of the lodges that I used to belong to. We have a connection with that from back in the day, and that was fucking clandestine. We were given all the wrong shit, and that's why I redid a lot of the shit I did. And that's why I'm trying to tell you, research the lodges that you join. Do it the right way. And get the experience. Don't let somebody tell you what the shit is about. All right. Jacob Smith says, laugh out loud. I came in at a funny time. Okay, you're going to explain that down here. I see. Prince Yababa, I hear the official lodges don't do hazing. You are 100% correct. They do not. Again, you're going to find the lodges that do hazing. Prince Hall Lodge does a lot of hazing. If you've never gone through it, it's not easy. Military lodges do a lot of hazing. Matter of fact, the lodge I went through, my worshipful master came through a military lodge, and hence the shit that I went through. He incorporated a lot of the military style aspect in the initiations. And when I tell you there was motherfuckers passing out, dehydrating, shitting on themselves, pissing on themselves, I can't even put it into words. It's not for the weak at heart if you're going to go through that style lodge. The best way I can describe it, I don't want to sugarcoat it. If you are sugar and you're a bitch and you're sensitive, your feelings are going to get hurt because there's a lot of verbal insulting going on too. They can really fuck with you. And yes, somebody had mentioned earlier, I think it was Kay, I was liking it kind of to a college fraternity thing. You can to a certain extent. I will say that on some level. I found, though, from going through both lodges, I found that the hazing, personally, to me, there's going to be a difference of opinion on this. I felt it was completely unnecessary. I think it takes away from the spiritual. And that's why I wanted to go through the free and accepted Masonic Lodge and do it the right way. I was able to focus more mentally and spiritual. Now, it's still, you went through some stuff, but it was more mental. And I'm glad I was able, actually, I kind of glad I had both experiences, but if I knew what I knew now, I probably would have avoided the lodges that did the hazing because I think it distracts you from the spiritual significance of what they really represent, if you understand what I'm saying. And then when I went through the OTO lodge, because of my experience in Masonry, a lot of it was familiar. OTO, very interesting. There's not really per se hazing in the degrees, nowhere near on the physical level. Is there some physical light hazing in the OTO lodge? Yes, there is. I'm not going to get into detail. Nowhere near on the shit you're going to go through in a Prince Hall or a military style lodge. Nowhere near on the level. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't want to ruin it because if anybody's going to go through it, I want you to experience it for yourself. But I found out that the hazing really is unnecessary. I think it takes away from the spiritual significance of what the degrees are teaching. I was able to focus more when I went through the free and accepted Masonic Grand Lodge. I was really able to zone in and bring out that inner power within me, especially on the Master Mason degree, which holds a really special significance to me that I can draw upon to this day. And remember, the rituals and the degrees are supposed to leave a lasting impression on your subconscious mind. I can go back to all the rituals and degrees I've done on the left-hand path, the initiations, and I could draw upon the significance of those degrees to this day and get me through obstacles and problems and shit that I'm dealing with. That's the power of ritual and degree. It transforms. They're supposed to leave a lasting impression on your subconscious mind. I could sit here and do a whole breakdown on the Master Mason degree and the significance and the role it's played in my life up until this point and how I can utilize that in a left-hand path perspective. Because remember, those that are in these orders, especially Masonry, you have some that are more religious-minded and some that are more esoterical and have an occult mindset. I find out a lot of the old school cats are more religious. They deal with more of the biblical Solomon's temple aspect of Masonry. Some of the newer cats are more on the esoterical level and the occult. It just depends on what perspective you're coming from. All right. But yes, Prince Yababa, you are correct. The official lodges, and when I say officials that are registered by the state, you can get into, oh, that's because the white man recognized him, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. then go through there, get the degrees, and start your own shit and reform it. I can't listen to that shit no more. Okay. K. Edwards, Dan S., did you have to go through a hazing clan? Yes, I know the lodge that Dan S. went through. It was a bullshit ass lodge. We went through the same lodge, not maybe the same time, but it was bullshit. It was clandestine and it was hazing. And yes, they're clandestine. We're not recognized by the Grand Lodge. They claim to have been recognized by ancient free and accepted order of Masonry, but when we did the research, we found out they weren't. And clandestine, as Prince Yababa puts in, is basically unofficial lodges not recognized by the Grand Lodge of that region. That is 100% correct. I'm not sure if Prince Yababa, you sound like, I would assume you sound like you are a Mason. I would assume, or you've just done some good research. K. Edwards types in, all my brethren who joined change for the better. Most definitely. That's what one of the key phrases of Masonry is, to take men and make them better men, right? Right. It takes good men and makes them better men. And it tells you it's never to interfere with your family life, your labor. Remember the 24-inch get common gavel engage, right? It's to divide your time wisely. 8 hours for refreshment, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for labor, right? And labor is not just talking about the physical work that you do in your job, but the work of the lodge, right? That's the gauge you see when you see the gauge, you see the compass in the square. You're seeing a lot of the key symbols on the first 3 degrees of Masonry. So these symbols project a certain level of consciousness and knowledge to how, when I look at it, that's what resonates and comes to my subconscious mind. When I see the 24-inch gauge, it reminds me of to divide my time equally and correct. But how would I take that same concept and apply it on left-hand path principles is, how can I break up my time to give myself, create enough of time for my spiritual growth, enough of time for, like, tonight, it's going to be time for partying. And when I tell you we're going to kick it, especially later. Time for partying and celebrating, a time for spiritual and studying, a time to do your rituals. This is how the adept can apply the science of the 24-inch gauge or the 24 hours in a day. How do you, as an adept, take the 24 hours in a day and distribute that time wisely? That's a challenge in that. Well, that's how a Mason looks at it, right? And further it, remember, to show your power and wisdom as an adept of the black arts, take those same Masonic concepts, but give them a left-hand path interpretation and spin on it. That's becoming a god or a goddess, because I can take all the Masonic teachings and make them left-hand path if I really wanted to me, and it means something to me. It ain't got to mean shit to anybody else. But that's the beauty of it. K. Edwards typing, Prince, why even join a fake lodge? They must find out after the fact. Well, yeah, you have a lot of lodges out there. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Even with Prince Hall, not every state recognizes Prince Hall lodges. A lot of states consider Prince Hall lodges clandestine, like the state of Florida. New York recognizes Prince Hall lodges. Places like Alabama, Texas, and Florida don't. They consider them clandestine because they consider their chart is not authentic, coming through the Grand Lodge of England, right? And even though originally Prince Hall was given a charter, but then it was taken back. There's a lot of history and theories on that. Who was Prince Hall? He was a half original black man. He came from a mixed parent of black and white parents. Now there's the whole big debate. You have a lot of groups, like, for an example, the Nuwapians will claim they have what they call the ancient Egyptian Masonic order. There's no such fucking thing. They lay claims that it traces back to ancient Egypt. Yeah, all Masonry traces back to Egypt, but they can't produce an authentic charter that they claim that they have. Because I know, because I was part of that shit years ago. They claim that. So anyway, it's all bullshit. Point being is, the Grand Lodge of England, which falsely, Masonry didn't start there. But here in the West, in America, whether it's through the state, and what determines a Grand Lodge being officially recognized is having a charter from that Grand Lodge in that state. That's the structure and the politics of it today, okay? Now, if you don't want to affiliate or have anything to do with that, then fine, then just don't deal with it. But don't talk on it as if you know the structure and what it's about and how it operates and works. Start your own lodge, but make it clear you have no affiliation with that. And that's fine too. But my point being is you have people that talk about free and accepted masonry as if they were initiated. That's the difference. All right. Prince Yabab, I want to join the Masons like a few blocks from my apartment. Again, as I suggested earlier, see when they have their open meetings where you can come for an open dinner and meet, make sure you're comfortable. You might go and find out you don't feel the vibe there. You might have to visit 2 or 3 lodges. I'm fortunate because obviously I have family that went through the lodge. There's a history there. So I was able to connect with a lodge years back and click because, I mean, my lodge is good. And again, I'm at a lodge 236 in Boynton Beach, Florida. And the lodge that I went through and belonged to, it has a good Masonic educational system. They bring in a lot of guest speakers. They have an esoterical society. So you want to find these things out. Because the main thing you want to get is the Masonic education. Are you going to grow spiritually? I'll be honest with you. There's some fucking lodge out there with just some old school backwards ass heads that it's just a fucking social club. And I don't want to belong to a lodge that's a social club with some bunch of old raggedy ass motherfuckers that ain't trying to do no work. I ain't got no time for that shit. There are lodges out there that exist like that. So I would make sure you visit the lodge before you join. K. Edwards, my grandfather was a 33rd Knights of Pythagoras Lodge, and he was a Shriner too. What would I have gotten a chance to build to? Why would I have gotten a chance to build with him? I'm not sure. Maybe the spell checker fucked that up. Wow. Are you saying you wish you would have got a chance to build with him? I guess that's what you're saying. Maybe correct that later down. Jennifer Long, my ancestors were connected to the assassins, the Druze. It said that they hid this. I'm interested in tapping in to the inner God. Then yeah, you might want to look into orders like the OTO, where they take female initiates, the Rosicrucian Order, the Grand Lodge of Rosicrucia out of San Jose, California. They have some of the foundation on the teaching. Now, if you have some bloodline information where you can gather through some ancestral relatives, you might even want to go that route. I myself, when it comes to Sufi mysticism, some of these assassins, that's what has attracted me to the Templars and some of the spiritual practices and the things that they did. That Hashim, that warrior aspect is naturally ingrained in my nature. I do a whole bunch of work with that. I have an altar set up just for working with assassin spirits and warrior spirits. And again, not to get into personal shit, it's already been confirmed through elders and systems and spiritual things that I've gone through and in a past life that I used to be one of those individuals. And I've confirmed, and again, I don't want people to accept that because I'm saying it. It's just something I've confirmed for self. Have a strong connection to it. It's in the blood, put it that way. But if you have some information on that, you might want to tap into that and look into it. All right. Josh Morse, I'm just now joining your live stream. How it's going. Okay, cool. Jennifer Longcare was, okay, I'm going to skip you guys' conversation between each other. Jacob Smith says, happy birthday and peace, brother. Appreciate that, Jacob. Yeah, man, we about to get it in. I put it this way. I haven't eaten shit really all day. I just had a bagel this morning, glass of water, because I know I'm about to get my grub on, so I don't want to overdo it and ruin my exercise and diet, but I am going to be cheating this weekend. Man, the food, we getting ready to grub. So I'm gonna have my little cheat weekend and get back on point in the gym on Monday. I don't do it often, but yeah, we're gonna be doing some stuff. We're gonna be having some fun tonight. Al Sheba Sekmed, happy born day, appreciate that. And as I equated back in the day, for some reason I still use the supreme mathematics, supreme alphabets of the nation of gods and earth. Being when you look at the month, born in the equality month, which is the 6th month, then you have the 1 and 0, which is the born day, which is knowledge cipher, and then the year born, which is knowledge, born, God, knowledge, right? When you equating the supreme mathematics, I could take it into the alphabet. If, I could take it into one, Allah, and take the 0, which is cipher, the letter O, there's significance in that. I remember back in them days, I would always, and I still do, that stuff never leaves you. I still apply the alphabets and the mathematics. That's something that never leaves you, because that was my first introduction to any level of spiritual consciousness. And I'm gonna say that was back in like 88. And I respect the nation of gods on earth, and I still stay in contact with my brothers and my gods on earth to this day, even having been so long back in my past. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Black Tower, evening. Oh, you must be in a different time zone. You must be overseas. Brother Doma, Happy New Year, brother. Appreciate that. K. Edwards. I'll have to wrap this up in about 15, 20 minutes. My homeboy joined Alphas. He said they had to crack an egg and pass the yolk from mouth to mouth and beat with a paddle till ass was swollen. Yeah, that would break someone. Yeah. There's similar things that go on. We did something, we didn't use an egg. I don't want to say what we had to ingest, and I don't want to tell you what we took it down with. All I'm going to tell you is if you're a straight bitch, it's not for you. Don't go through a Prince Hall Lodge, don't go through an international lodge, and don't go through a military lodge. You're going to get your feelings hurt. If you feel like you wanted to test your willpower, your tenacity, your physical, mental, and spiritual strength, then power to you. Put it this way. I couldn't sit down probably for days. It was uncomfortable to sit in a chair. I had to lay on my side, put it that way. And they did back then when I went through, and they don't really do it in many places anymore. They did back then when I did it what they call a raising. A raising is when you take all 3 degrees on the Blue House in one night. A lot of lodges have shied away from that because they feel like you don't get the beneficial meaning and the significance of the degrees. So most lodges do 1 degree at a time now. You will do your entered apprentice at one time, show proficiency before you can do your fellow craft, then show proficiency before you can do your master mason degree. What is showing proficiency? So after you take your entered apprentice degree, you are assigned to a what they call a mentor. Could be 1 or 2 people. After you will meet regularly in the lodge with the group that you went through, your class that went through, you usually stay with that group. So if it was 4 or 5 of you guys, you'll go down to the lodge a set time weekly, and you will now have to commemorate the whole degree to memory. And once you get the degree to memory, your mentor will go to the brothers in the lodge and say, look, this class is ready to show proficiency. And what will happen is at one of the meetings, your whole group will come in with the mentor at a point in the meeting of the lodge, and you will stand in front of the lodge, and the mentor will just point to each individual. They'll start the degree, and it's random. It's not going to be in order, and you guys will have to go through the whole degree. You will then step out the lodge, and the brothers will vote on were you proficient or not on the degree. If yes, then you all get the green light to go to your next degree. If not, you will have to come back at another time to show proficiency. You understand? That's how you show proficiency on the degrees. Now, when I went through, the first time I went through, the first lodge I went through, the clandestine one, they did a raising. And basically, you did all 3 in one night. And I was in that motherfucker with only breaks in between for probably 19 to 20 hours straight. Literally 19 to 20 hours straight. No exaggeration. With maybe an hour break, if at that, where you got some water and you had a little time to get yourself together, and then the madness started all over again. I watched grown men cry and go. I'll tell you, man, to watch that Negro that was a Marine, to watch him break down like a bitch, the first thing that came to my mind, these are the Negroes protecting the country. And when I tell you, I saw the bitch come out. I never seen the bitch come out in a big dude like that. It's not for everybody. And I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm saying that to really get you to understand and make sure you understand what you're doing. If you don't want nothing to do with that, fine. Go through your free and accept the Masonic Lodge. There's no hazing in that. All right. Anyway, I want to keep talking about that. Emperor Firon. If someone is a part of the LGBT community, can they be initiated in these orders? I'm curious. Your sexuality has nothing to do with it. You cannot be discriminated on race, religion, or sexuality. There are people that I know in OTO that are part of the LGBT community. The Masons are going to be a little more secretive about it from a man perspective. Probably not the most thing to be openly about it in a Masonic lodge. I do know Masons that are gay, that are in the lodge, but it's very secretive because it's not really something. You got some of those older school dudes. But I do know females and males in OTO and the Rosicrucian order that are of that type of sexual preference. So no, it doesn't matter your race, your religion, and your sexuality. Remember, in those orders, we don't discuss religion. Religion is irrelevant. Doesn't matter what your religion is. You just have to, like for an example, in the Masonic order, not in OTO and some of the other orders, you do have to profess a belief in a supreme being, but that could be anything. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be God, Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, Allah, whatever. You just have to have, that's one of the requirements on the application. Do you profess the belief in a supreme being? That could be whatever it is to you. So no, religion, race, ethnicity, and sexual that's personal. They don't give a fuck. All right. Where else would I leave off? Okay. If the first, Jennifer Long typed in it earlier, if the first person does it, everyone else has to do it. They just want to see if you will do the dumb shit. I guess that was in a comment to somebody else. Not sure if that was a reference to. Emperor Fire. And also, how can someone, I think you meant initiated in power. I think you're spell checker. Again, I've said this before about power. Power is not a path you can just want to voluntarily be initiated in. You need to find out if it's something that's in your path, because I mentioned this before in previous feeds. My godmother has turned people away, and my godfather has turned people away because getting initiated in Palo wouldn't be a good thing for them. Usually how you know if it's meant for you to be initiated, you might want to go to some Palo gatherings where they do work with the spirits and they bring the spirits down and there's drumming, because usually one of the Palo spirits will come through one of its initiates and do what's said is to be marked, to get scratched in Palo. That's how I found out. Mama Cholo came through an initiate that was in my house that I belonged to. The spirit will usually pull you in the middle of the circle, quote unquote, whatever they got going on. And usually the marks will be drawn upon you. Some have gone before through a system of divination to determine that. So first you want to find out if it's, something in your spiritual path that the spirits deem necessary. Some people find out it's not necessary. They get scratched in Palo or initiated. So you understand. Prince, your Baba, mostly Palo doesn't accept LGBT. Now here's another thing. On the surface, yes, I do know people scratched in Palo that are lesbian or gay. Again, it's kind of something you don't really talk about. A lot of the traditional high priests, and they kind of look down upon it. My godmother, for an example, she is lesbian. So I can attest to this from experience. It's just something that's not openly discussed. But yes, on the surface, it's not really accepted mainstream. But there are plenty of people I know that are lesbian or gay and that are initiated. So it's kind of a touchy question. Lady Williams, good. You got all your books for the classes. And again, just to reiterate that, I'm glad Lady Williams put that in. I did send out the list of books you will need for the classes. For those that signed up for my online class starting in July 7th, I sent out the book list. I think I got everybody. If I forgot you and you paid for the class and I didn't send you the book list, just email me and I'll get that out to you, okay? Thanks for reminding me, Lady Williams. Baffa Marga says, happy birthday. Appreciate that, Baffa Marga. Thank you. Jennifer Long, Prince Yababa, how do you find a power teacher in one's area? All right, even though you dressed after Prince Yababa, this is a tricky one because you got a lot of charlatans out there. You got a lot of people who are going to rip you off. Usually, if you go to your local Botanica, you're going to find, for the most part, somebody connected to, or the individuals owning that Botanica. If they don't, they should be able to connect you to Apollo House. But most people that usually run them Botanicas usually have some type of connection to it. Now, the trick is finding a good one. Now, also be careful, because a lot of the people that run the Botanicas, a lot of them practice what they call Palomante, which is more of a Orishi influenced aspect of Palo. It's not really quite the same as Palo Mayembe. And again, the best thing I could suggest, when you do find an area that has a practice in-house, I'd visit a few and feel the people out to get comfortable, because just like anything else, you have charlatans in that too. I hate to say it, but that's the reality, all right? Baffa Margaret types in, are there any official lodges for women to join? Yes. A woman can go up to the highest ranks in the Order Templi Orientis. She could become a master if she chooses. The Rosicrucians, there are many Grand Masters over the Rosicrucian Lodge. In matter of fact, where I am here in Florida, my Grand Lodge is in St. Petersburg in Tampa. My local lodge is here in Miami. One of the most powerful sisters I ever met, she was from, where was she from in West Africa? It was either Ghana or Nigeria. She served as the Grand Master for 2 years, and one of the most powerful sisters I ever met. I learned a lot from her. So yes, there are many official lodges in these spiritual and esoterical orders that a female can join and obtain the highest ranks. Now, in Freemasonry, the females have their own chapter called the Order of the Eastern Stars. So the men and women are separated by gender when it comes to Freemasonry. So yeah, there are plenty of lodges, official lodges for females. El Sheba segment. I found out something that I really know. What is up with the Knights of Pythias, Pythagora? A lot of these groups, the Knights of Pythias, the Odd Fellows, which that's getting some crazy shit. A lot of them have branched off from Masonry and kind of focus on a specific area or doctrine of these esoterical and occult orders. The Knights of Templar, the Knights of Columbus, which I've actually am a 4th degree Knight of Columbus, which is a strict fraternal order in the Catholic Church. I was actually born and raised Catholic. So back in, what year was that? 99, 2000, myself and a good Dominican brother of mine, because we were able to get the records and to go through the Knights of Columbus, you have to be able to have certificates that you received the sacraments. Now, I was able to receive copies from the church that I was baptized in as a kid. My first communion, my confirmation, you have to show all these when you apply to the Knights of Columbus. Man, remember, Father Michael McGivney, who found the Knights of Columbus, he went through the Masonic order. Because if you've gone through the first 3 degrees of the Knights of Columbus, it's very similar to the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry. The 4th degree, which is a higher degree, which you actually get knighted on the 4th degree. The Pope, who actually gets knighted, that more ties into the Templar and the Assassin order and the Templars and all that. You literally get knighted by the Grand Master. The ceremony is very similar. You get knighted like a knight would. You spend the 24 hours the night before reflecting on what you're getting ready to go through, where you actually go into the small chapel area where they expose the Blessed Sacrament. It's a whole nother shit. I could talk to you about that shit for, God, I don't even want to tell you the shit. I got to be honest with you. I got a lot of spiritual growth out of the Knights of Columbus, believe it or not. I thought it was going to be very religious. It wasn't. It wasn't what I thought it was. I actually served, 1 year I served as a Grand Master in the Knights of Columbus, or as the master of a local lodge, not a Grand Master. And that was in 2003. I have affiliation with 2 lodges. I'm not active anymore. I've been inactive for quite a few years. I do stay in contact with a few people that are still affiliated with my Knights of Columbus Lodge in Long Island, New York. That's a whole nother experience. But again, they're all connected. Why I chose to do this subject is they're all connected. I can tell you that for sure. All right. Prince Yababa. I am in the North Broward, South Palm Beach County area. Matter of fact, I'm 5 minutes from where that school shooting happened last February. The Parkland school shooting. My little guy actually, his learning academy, his preschool is right up the street from that. And when my wife actually got caught in the chaos that day of picking him up. So I'm right in that area. Parkland is probably the northern. I'm in the Parkland Boca area. Literally, technically, my physical locale would be Boca, but if I come out on the main road of where I live and make a right, you could actually see the county line sign. So I'm on the North Broward County, North Lauderdale, South Palm Beach County area, which is great because I'm smack in the middle of everything. I got Palm Beach to the north of me, just maybe 20 minutes away from the heart of Miami and 5-10 minutes away from the heart of Fort Lauderdale. All right. So that's the area I'm located in. But to give you a good geographical locale, it would be literally, obviously not a good thing, but it's right where they had that, not far from where that school shooting was in Parkland. Majority Douglas Stoneman High School. Okay. Prince Yababa. Not sure if there are many around that. I know some people will get initiated in Florida. I know many people in Florida that have been initiated. It's my opinion it's best to have a powerhouse nearby. It is. You want to. Most of the people I know initiated in Palo are more so down in the Miami area, not so much in Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach. Brother Duma. Yeah, I was a worshipful master when you went through your EA degree. The lodge that you're talking about, I was actually the worshipful master over the Grand Lodge of Florida in that lodge. I served in that capacity. That was 2002 to like 2000, might be late 2001 to, I want to say roughly 2006, 2007. Yeah. I actually raised a lot of brothers up through that lodge during that time. That I still stay in contact with today, even though I'm not really part of that lodge. Some of them brothers have actually left that lodge and have come over to the Free and Accepted Masonic and done the shit right. But yeah, so again, as I'm talking about this, not to pat myself on the back, I'm speaking from experience. I wasn't just a member of these lodges. I sat in these seats. I served in I pretty much served every officer position in the Blue House. I was from the Tyler to the junior and the senior deacon to the stewards, the lower levels on up to the senior warden up into the worshipful master, etc. So I'm not talking just because I read a book, and this is the shit that got to stop. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, no, I just did research. Josh Morris, I'm going to be emailing you for a consultation. Could use the one-on-one with you. Okay, cool. Jacob Smith, does anyone know about soul bonding through shrooms and or acid and losing that loved one to someone else? No, I don't. Maybe somebody else here does. I've said in the past, I do not really have any experience working with a high level of hallucinogens. I've done some of it with shamanic studies back in the day. Some work I did back in 1992 in St. Croix Virgin Islands with some natural, but very limited. So I really can't speak on that. So I don't really want to talk on, something in the area that I don't have too much experience. What I do know, yes, shrooms and hallucinogens can open you up, good and bad. It has its consequences. Remember, it works off of the hippocampus area of your brain, which is responsible for creating your spiritual experiences. You do want to be in sound mind and sound body, more so sound mind in this case, because it can open you up to a lot of your inner demons that you may not be prepared for. So I would proceed with caution if you do that. It can open you up to higher aspects of your higher self or your higher spiritual personality, if you want to call it that. But I would proceed with caution. I've seen it have great effects on people, and I've seen it do some detrimental damage. So be careful. All right. Jennifer Long, I get your earlier comment about bloodline proof. That's a good thing. Work with it. Hey, Lottie Dottie. All right, like that name, Lottie Dottie. We like to party. All right. What about women's lodges? A Mason once recommended this lodge to me out here for women, but it has only 3 initiations and unofficial. I'm still thinking about contacting them. I don't know what lodge that is, so I really can't speak on it. Be careful. It's not some side thing that they started, which is okay, as long as you have some type of history on it. If you get me more information and see what's their affiliation and what are they claiming, I'm not sure if it's an Eastern Star Lodge or what they're claiming. I'd find that out before you got involved. Brother Doom is supreme math or a part of you. No doubt. Supreme mathematics always stays a part of you. Straight Panther, happy born day. Appreciate that, brother. Dan S. Microwave Masons. You ain't lying. We got a lot of microwave Masons out here. Prince Yababa. Yeah, there are a lot of good books on God body. Actually, let me pull that up real quick. I can throw a few out to you. A couple I'm actually reading right now, but there's one that's really good book, good by God. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull it up for you. And I would tend to stick to books of people that are nations of gods, and there are people that mastered 120, that know the lessons. And, how the lessons were given to me back in the day, you got them in increments. We got them later on down the road, or now you can get them online and people are giving them all at once. But you should get, in essence, first and foremost, you should know your alphabets first, your supreme alphabets, your supreme mathematics, your 9 jewels of Islam, right? After your 9 jewels of Islam, you should get your student enrollment, which is your 1 to 10. You should master your 1 to 10. After that, you should get your 1 to 14. I'm sorry, your 1 to 36, lost and found 1C. And then after that, your 1 to 14, and then your 1 to 40, followed by your solar facts and your actual facts. That's the order you should study your 120. When you've mastered 120, back then you would consider getting your flag. Now they just give flags. Back then, you would have to show and prove, where you'd have to go on the hot seat. You'd have to sit down, and they might just flip degrees at you. Give me this degree. Give me that degree. So you had to show and prove. And to this day, they still have show and proves, where you got to show and prove your proficiency in the 120. Very similar to masonry, huh? Sounds very similar. So again, that's how we got it back in the day. You got your supreme mathematics, then you got your supreme alphabets. Then after your supreme alphabets, you were given the 9 jewels of Islam. Then you was given your student enrollment, your 1 to 10. Then you was given your 1 to 36. Then your 1 to 14, your 1 to 40. Then your 1 to 40. Where in your actual facts, solar facts, that complies your 120 degrees. Really 122, because remember the father-in-law added 2 degrees after that. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of add-on lessons and builds, like General Monk, the real history of Jesus. There are many plus degrees, what we call them back in the day. And I'm going to tell you this, to this day, and I've recently in the last several months have gotten back into my teachings. There's a lot of hidden science in that. I look at it differently now than I did back in the 80s and the early 90s. Father Allah, who some of y'all might know as Clarence 13X, he was on point. He basically was saying, man, fuck all that. Only Master Farad Muhammad was Allah. Fuck that. I'm Allah too. I'm God. And I see why he broke off and did his thing. You understand? It's a beautiful thing. And I've recently learned to reconnect myself and to show how powerful the mathematics and the alphabets are. I can resonate with it to this day. To me, it's probably the only quote unquote, if you want to really, it's not really a black spiritual conscious group that I can really connect with. It's the only one to me that makes sense. To be honest with you, that's just my personal opinion, because I think that the Nation of Gods and Earth were on point. But anyway, let me pull these books up real quick. I Obviously, you want to read The Message to the Black Man in America, How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and 2. These are some of the base books of Supreme Wisdom by Elijah Muhammad. Those were some of the first books we were given back in the day. That was mandatory. Here's one of the best books, Knowledge of Self. This is written by a God. I give you his name. It's thorough as shit. It's a large book, but let me give you the name. I can't think of the author's name. Let me just pull it up right here. Let me see who the author was. I can't remember the God's name. Okay, Supreme Understanding of Law. The forward is by Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian. But Dr. Supreme Understanding of Law. And there's a lot of testimony in there from current gods and earths and their experience with 120 and the nation and the whole, etc. Again, because hip hop culture is what drew me to the nation of gods and earth. Like I said, my idol growing up that I worshiped was the god Rakim. That was my fucking idol growing up when I was a kid. And he was the first individual I remember seeing in 8th grade before I went to high school. And then I started seeing some of the gods. And remember back then, the gods would wear, a lot of the gods today don't wear crowns no more with the tassels. It's almost, back then we used to call it wearing your crown and packing a bag of 120. Back then, the gods would walk around with their crowns on and they carry their bags with their lessons in them. You don't see that no more. That's kind of a thing of the past. Well, I remember in high school, that's when I first had physical exposure to some of the gods in 9th grade. But I remember seeing they were filming Follow Leader video in my neighborhood, and Rakim, because he was from that area, he was wearing the jacket, and I saw the universal flag on the back of his jacket. So that's what sparked me to look into the nation of gods and earth. And that was my exposure to it. But I would look into Knowledge of Self by Dr. Supreme Understanding of Law, right? And there's another one here, which is real good. Give me a sec. I'm going to pull it up. What's going on here? Here's another one that's really good. Black God Anthology. This is another one that I would recommend. Let me get the author's name. Again, by Supreme Understanding of Law. It's a different book he wrote. I would tell people to get the history of the Father, get the history of the nation, get the history of the first 9 born. Understand it, because really, in essence, there's a lot of hidden occult science in that doctrine. A lot of hidden, you'll see masonry encoded in there. And it has nothing to do with what you know as modern day Islam today. Get that shit out of your head. There's no such thing as Muslim gods. There's no such thing. We don't practice Islam on that level. That's that established Islam. We believe in that the black man is God, always was God, and always will be God. The Supreme Understanding. That's why some of the first books we were told to read were some of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Again, Message to the Black Man in America, How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and 2, Supreme Wisdom, The Mother Plan, Yaqub. I would read all those books to get the history. Now, some of that information has kind of been added on to bring it up to date in real time. So what we like to call it in this day and time is living mathematics and alphabet. Okay, there's a difference. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Maybe I'll do a whole class on that. But I still incorporate a lot of my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. If you listen to some of the overtones when I teach, you'll catch it. Only if you're a nation of God and earth will you catch it. But if you listen to what I teach, you'll catch it. It stays with you. Mathematics and the alphabet and the 120, it's ingrained in your DNA. It never leaves you. And I've always drawn upon my power in that. And like I say, man, Brother Jack, who I don't know if he's still in here, we had a great time. We were able to catch Rakim perform a couple weeks ago, man. We had a great time. We were like little kids, man. I ain't gonna lie. We were like little teenage bitches running to the stage when he came on. You should saw Jack, straight bitch. Ah! No, I'm just kidding. I'm fucking with him. I know he's watching, so he probably gonna laugh. But nah, we were like little kids and shit. When he came in, we bum rushed the stage, man. We had a ball. Man, listening to everybody just sing along with everybody knew every fucking lyric, man. You know what I mean? And it's like we time traveled at that concert. When the God Rakim was performing, it took me back. I can remember everything. And when every year, whatever song he was recording, I can remember where I was, I just went back to them times, man. It was incredible. So yeah, that always stays with me. That'll never leave me, man. So those are some of the books I'd recommend. There's more, but I'm just going to I would definitely get Knowledge of Self, though. That covers a wide range of shit. All right. Let me wrap this up. I got a few more minutes. I got to get out of here. Oh, shit. Jack Shaw, Sugar Daddies. You know it, dog. Yeah, we know what's up. Some houses mask their work. Be careful and smart, no doubt. El Sheba segment. I was doing a family background check and found the Knights of Pythias and it several times. So you got some connection there. I'd pursue it. If you are knighted in England, are you a part of the OTO? Not in a sense that you have to become a registered member and go through their initiatory degrees. No, you wouldn't be considered a part spiritually, maybe in essence, symbolically, but not literally. No. Check out Dr. Supreme Understanding. Yeah, Supreme Understanding. Thanks, Brother Duma. Das. That's another brother you might want to check out. And I would only read books by members that are gods. There's a lot of shit books from third parties out there. Don't read them. Bullshit. Peace, Sister Sonia. And actually, my Nation of God, Born Justice of Law. You do the math. That's the name. Because you got to say, all right, if you say peace God and you approach a God, peace God, where you hail from. Well, originally it came from Lord's Island, which would be Long Island. We always took something in the alphabet, L, and the I. They, even though it was I, but they would title it Lord's Island. Like now, some of the gods I would stay and connect with is what we call in West Palm Beach, WPB, Wise Power Born. You would say I hail from where you hail. And then some might even ask you to run down your lineage. Who'd you receive knowledge of self from? Who was your enlightener? Who was your educator? And then you'd have to say, what's your name mean? Say born justice of law. What does that break down to mean? Take it to the alphabet. You explain your meaning and your understanding. Are you taking me back, man? I feel like I'm back in 88, 89 and shit, standing on the corner. But yeah. I'm sorry. I left y'all for about a second there. Check out Dr. Supreme Understanding. That definitely. Lady Williams. I read a lot of those. She says when I was in my Black Power movement in my 20s. Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I have the ultimate respect for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because what he did in those times, and remember, he was facing a lot more persecution than we would ever face in this day and time. And he had some balls to do what he did. Whether you like him, agree with him, I have the ultimate respect for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. A lot of his teachings to this day, like Message to the Black Man in America, that's a classic. That'll never go out of time. I mean, you got to just, when you're reading it, some of it, you got to remember, it was written for that time. So you got to be able to be a god or a goddess and update that information. How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and 2. Powerful book. It's awesome. And I still stay with my roots in that. Now, the mother plane, that might be a little spooky for me because I was having a conversation with one of the gods a few days ago about that. I don't know how much I really align with that. I think it's a lot of religious because we're basically taking Master Farad Muhammad's interpretation on his experience with the plane. Now, if you've had your own experience with it and can validate it for self, that would be dealing with the subjective. I'm cool with that. But we got to be careful how we pass that. The Supreme Wisdom, which remember, a lot of stuff in the Supreme Wisdom is in the 120. But remember, Father Allah came up with the Supreme Alphabet in mathematics. That's his creation. That was something he created after he left Temple 30, the Temple in New York as a member of 37X. He created the alphabet in the mathematics. He went to the youth on the street. He took it to a whole nother level, and that's why they killed him. You understand? Because he took it to the youth. He gave blacks and Latinos other ethnicities and told them the power of the black man being God. It's a beautiful thing. And that's something that'll always stay with me. I might necessarily not be 100% active. I mean, I do affiliate to a certain level here with some gods that we meet here in Wise Power Born. But, that's my foundation. You can't never negate that. Which after that, it led me, took a side detour into the Ansarul law shit for a minute, which obviously if I would have known what I know now, I wouldn't have. But, everything happened for a reason. people say, how do you get your name in the nation of gods on earth? Well, you take seven letters in the alphabet, like Lord Jamar. You're something that somebody you're familiar with. When you break Lord Jamar's name down, you go into the alphabet. J is justice, A, law, M, master, A, law, R, ruler. So that's how he came up with his name. So you take some will take 8, some will take 9, and you eliminate a few till you get down to 7 letters. And that's how you come up with your name. Some do 5 letters. It just depends. But you should be able to equate your name in the meaning of your name. Like, all right, so Dan puts in Master Dershard Farad Allah. Was that your name, or were you trying to say Master Farad? I'm not sure what that was, but I think you would be able to take that. So when we say, like, when you hear the term Islam to us means I, self, Lord, and Master, not what it means to an Orthodox practice in Sunni Muslim. What is I, self, Lord, and Master? How does that tie into the mathematics and the alphabet? Now, cipher, watch. So this is how we break that down. So when you say as a 5% or a nation of God, are they a Muslim? No. How the fuck did we get into this conversation when we were talking about? Holy shit. Anyway, time warp. I'm gonna finish with this because I gotta go. Oh, that was your name. So, all right, if I look at your name in the alphabets, right? M, master, A, Allah, S, savior, self, T, truth or square, E, equality, R, ruler. Then you have D for divine, A, Allah, R, ruler, S, savior, H, he or her, A, Allah, D, divine. That's a long ass fucking name. You'd have to probably break that down in significance to you. F, Father, A, Allah, R, ruler, Allah, divine, Allah. Okay, wow, that's long. I mean, now if you say how do I see that as God, I'd have to break that down. You may not how you see it as God, but that's how the gods build on the cipher. We come together on the cipher. And when I say how do you see it, God, I'm not asking you just how you see it in the mathematics. I'm asking how you see it as God, because that's why we form cipher. You understand? Okay, Dorshad. That's what I thought. You're 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, peace, God. I get it. I see it. Okay. So yeah, it's a language in itself. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the foundation. But like my name, Beniti, Beniti is something that was added to it afterwards, because I wasn't known by Beniti back then. You just take born justice, right? You take the letters, same thing. You break them down, equate them into the alphabet. Justice J means justice, U, universal, S, savior, self-savior, T, truth or square, I, or I, Islam, right? C, to see, equality, right? So when I say I come in the name of born justice Allah, that's what I mean. Beniti means teacher. So now you put Beniti, born justice Allah. That's what I would be known as in ciphers. You got to be able to break that shit down. Man, you motherfuckers are taking me. I feel like I'm back in 88 and shit. It never leaves. Trust me when I tell you, it never leaves. Anyway, Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. That's what it means. So when we say Allah, why all the gods carry the name Allah is because of that. It just simply means the true and living God is the Son of Man. What does the lesson say? We searched for that mystery God, right? And we waited for something that was a complete waste of time, because that mystery, it failed waiting for a mystery God to bring us food, clothing, and shelter. We found that we wasted too much time waiting for a mystery God. And we found out that the true and living God was the Son of Man, right? This is the precepts that it taught us, right? And when you go into your lessons, it addresses all of those areas. We don't deal with a mystery or a spook God. That's why we say arm, leg, arm. And in the lessons, it says, when we say Islam, myself, Lord, and Master, which, leads to your culture and equality, what is the said birth record of the Nation of Islam? In the lessons, what does it say? The set birth record of the Nation of Islam is in the student enrollment. It has no beginning. It has no beginning or ending. No birth record. It's older than the sun, moon, and stars, because we're talking spiritually. So we don't say it on a physical level. All right. So anyway, been on way longer than I thought. I'm gonna have to wrap this shit up. Appreciate the conversation. We get ready to have the birthday celebration. I'm about to get out of here. You know where to contact me, khnum19@gmail.com. If you didn't get the book list for the classes starting in July, and you registered and paid, make sure you hit me up. I will get you the information. You know where to reach me for consultations or spiritual readings. I think you guys sparked me. I think I'm going to do a class on the Nation of Gods and Earths. I think that's going to be my next class, man. I'm feeling it now. You're taking me back to my roots. Again, the books that I had made reference to, if you came in late, The Templar and the Assassins, The Militia of Heaven by James Wasserman, Astrology, Alistair and Eon by Charles Kipp. I'd get these books. It'll give you a good history of those orders. We'll probably talk soon. Like I say, Brother Jack, we got the 2-day jamming going on for the birthday. Today's my sister's, tomorrow's me, but we're kind of going to mix it up. Hit me up, brother, if you haven't. I'm going to check my phone. I don't know if you text me. No, you ain't hit me up yet. Listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, hit me up if you didn't get the book list. Lady Williams, I think I sent you the book list. Yeah, Straight Panther, pull those lessons out. You're going to need them. I think we're going to go over that stuff. I think we'll do a whole class on the 120 and kind of how do we correlate it and bring it up, to today. Because like I said, in my opinion, out of all the quote unquote Black conscious movements that have been out there, the only one that I can connect with is a Nation of Gods and Earth. That's just me. That's always been with me. It's my foundation, and it'll always stay with me to some extent. I appreciate all the happy birthday wishes, peace and love. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Looking forward to working with some of you guys personally next month on the classes. I know some of y'all are coming to the fall event, the 2-day seminar I think we're going to have. That's going to be fun. Some of you will experience your first black magic ritual. That shit will be fun. I'll see how you guys react to that. Some of you are coming at the end of this month. I know 2 or 3 of you from out of state will be at the ritual on the 29th of June. It's always, I love watching the first timers go through a black magic ritual. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Appreciate everybody tuning in, but we'll talk soon. Peace.